Previously on Aoi Shiro. At the very least, the guy wearing the eye patch was more similar to Nami than us Japanese.
もしやナミの親御さんだったりするかも。ナミの方には特に反応ないけど、記憶喪失ならわからないでしょうし、ちょっと声とかかけてみます。
Note to self: if you want to get drunk, drink Shoko's blood. Since I could clearly Yasumi's voice.
一難去ってまた一難って感じね。
瑠璃の都の門の上、剣はそこに、敵はここに。面白い。まさにヒノキ部隊が整ったか。
The scales of battle, which had been unbalanced in a one-on-one fight, now became an uneven one-on-two fight.
波の音、日差し、風、潮の香り。高校デビューは私もなんですけど。
No mercy! And so it continues. Greetings, my name's Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Aoi Shiro. I'm a little peeved right now, and that's because I seem to have lost the original version of this episode that you're watching right now, and I think I know the reason why. I was right in the middle of recording it when a storm passed by where I lived, and it ended up knocking power out to my home. And I ended up remembering a similar incident occurring a while back when I was doing a Corpse Party fan game Let's Play back in the day, where I ended up losing power right in the middle of an episode as well, and when I booted my computer back up, I found that the video file didn't save or anything, it was just gone. And sure enough, when I got power back this time around and I decided to look for the original file of this episode, it too was gone. So, well over an hour of work just gone, right like that, all on account of rain. So, I just decided, rather than just get right back to it immediately and possibly risk another power outage right in the middle of the recording, I decided to wait for the storm to pass. I think it's gone now. I don't think there's any other ones coming, so I'm going to go ahead and get right back to it and hope I didn't just jinx myself. Next, I'm going to choose to clean the garden, because at this point I haven't actually chosen to clean the garden before. And it was this option right here that also helped put me on the path to Migiwa's route, or at least that's what I'm suspecting anyway, but I'm pretty damn sure that I am, going by what I remember of the original recording of this episode. So, we're going to go ahead and clean the garden, and I'm just going to let the scene play out for a little while. Because everything I choose from this point onward for the next 20 minutes or so, I think, is going to be brand spanking new. So, enjoy. Oh, shit. God damn it, I forgot to turn the skip off.
じゃあ、私は掃除の方に回るから。
I really am an idiot. I'm sorry about that. I looked at the faces assembled before me.
桃子、あなたが一番息が合うでしょ。それはもう、ザワッチのおはようからお休みまでを見届けられる唯一のルームメイトにしてクラスメイトですから。
The poor girl gets no privacy. I feel bad for her. Well, I guess she's qualified. There's no point choosing someone who would make Yasumi tired. You don't think that Momoko makes Yasumi tired? Really? I know I've already seen this before, but it's still funny to me, hearing her say that. So it was better to choose a classmate. And who better than her roommate?
食べる方が専門っていうか、あんまり料理とかやってそうには見えないんだけど。そういう子に限って上手だったりしますよね。あるある。 食い道楽が高じて自分で作るようになったりね。
He was unanimous, save for one hand that slowly raised itself.
翔子先輩。何？ももちゃんなら、ザワッチー！
Poor Momoko. How useless was she? In the end, another candidate was picked to help Yasumi. So Migiwa and everyone on the kendo team, besides Yasumi, went to clean.
みんな、それぞれの担当は分かった？はい。
There was one apathetic reply.
やる気がないなら抜けてくれて構わないんだけど。やる気がないわけじゃないんだけどね。体育会系のノリが苦手なだけで。ミギーさんからは団体行動苦手なタイプって匂いがします。おかげでこんなところにいたりするんだけど、一匹狼っていうよりは気ままな猫って感じです。それも野良猫。野良？飼われてないと言いますか、野生未だ健在と言いますか、ハンターっぽいと言いますか。
I don't think Momoko would lose, as either a hunter or a wild thing.
野生でハンターなら山猫では？お、そっちです。私も山猫の方がかっこよさげでいいかな。足音殺して獲物に近づき、その牙の一撃で頸椎をうがつ生粋の狩人だ。
Big cats really are efficient predators. Pretty scary, though.
私の場合、鈴のついた首はつけられたりしてるんだけどね。首は
Momoko stuck out her neck at the simile. Migiwa took out a...
携帯電話？勝手に電源切ったりして連絡つかなかったりすると、後で大目玉食らったりするわけ。ああ、いつでも鳴らされる鈴なわけですか。私も携帯電話は持たされていますよ。姫先輩のは GPS 付きだったりします。
What a luxury.
まさに首はね。私もだけど。とりあえず番号交換しとく？そういうことは後になさい。はいはい、わかりましたよ。おさとは交換してやらないからいいですよだ。どこの子供ですか？いや、同じ年だから。私の方が発育いいし。
Now that's a low blow, Migiwa. I swallowed my response, or else the exchange would never end, and went back to the main topic. No, please continue.
それじゃ、始め!
With bamboo brooms and rakes in hand, the kendo teams plus Migiwa spread out. Normally there was just the monks, so I thought there might not have been enough tools. With that misgiving in mind, I asked the monk. There seemed to be enough. It seems they were left by patrons who came to help but never came back, resulting in a dilapidated temple. Seeing the white flowers on the trees and the ones scattered at my feet definitely gave me a feeling of deja vu. You and me both. Drop. The flower fell from the tip of the calyx. The sound it made was heavy and vivid. Though they only lived for a day, and were even more fleeting than Sakura, they didn't fall lightly, but with a quaint vividness.
あら？どうしたの？Migiwaさんの姿が。
We have a deserter!
サボり？いえ、きちんと掃除はしてくださったみたいですけど。とりあえず、そろそろ切り上げようって教えておきたいんだけど。番号交換しておけばよかったですね。機会があったらそうしておいて。
Since it seems she wouldn't tell me, or maybe I was being childish for truthfully believing her words.
じゃあ探しに行ってくる。私も別のところを探しましょうか。いや、やっぱりいいわ。 綾代は片付けの指示とかこっちをお願い。
I left my bamboo broom leaning against the side of a nearby summer tsubaki and left the area.
ちょっと、今の状況分かってるんですか？
The slightly harsh tone reached my ears. It was a young girl's voice, but not a team member's. So I didn't even need to use the process of elimination to know who it was. It was who I was searching for. And in this peaceful environment, exactly what was going on? If she was talking to a team member, then as captain I had to take responsibility. If the problem was on our side, we'd have to apologize. If not, we couldn't let her say whatever she liked.
どうして調整してくれなかったんです？
What was she talking about? She was using rough words, but also using a polite speech pattern, so I belatedly realized she wasn't talking to a team member. However, if Migiwa were a second-year student like me, she might use polite speech when talking to a third-year senpai. Rather than thinking about it, it would be faster to just go look. I walked towards the voices.
だから若、女の子ばっかり20人弱来ました。
She was holding this... okay. I forgot I did that too. She was holding the cell phone I saw earlier in her hand. Like I thought, Migiwa wasn't talking to a team member, but to some boss on the phone.
その中にいる可能性？ないことはないでしょうけど、聖女の学生ですからね。若は知らないでしょうけど、聖女はそこそこ裕福な、つまりは社会的地位もそこそこの人たちが娘を通わせる、いわゆるお嬢様学校で。
We've been spotted. Migiwa's eyes moved towards my direction, and she acknowledged my presence.
人が来たんで、ちょっと一旦切りますよ。
She probably hung up without waiting for a response, and turned towards me and said,
聞かれちゃったか。
I silently nodded.
いろいろ聞いた？
Enough.
私たちのこと、あまり歓迎してくれてる様子じゃないって感じに聞こえたけど。ん？そう聞こえた？ニュアンスが。
If I only concentrate on the words she said, it seemed she was only giving a report, though.
昨日までの貸し切り状態がこの賑やかさでしょ？私人見知りする方だから、ちょっと急にこうなるとね。
How could she say she was shy?
右輪って何者？さーて、何者でしょうかね。まあ、温泉療養中の女子高生と思ってもらえば、とりあえず間違いではないから。療養中？この辺りのお湯は病や傷に効くって和尚が。果たして薬師の霊泉と床先の椿は関係あるのかないのか。床先の椿？この寺の裏に広がる皿の森。
She looked at the hill illuminated by the setting sun, and stretched her long arm out in a dance-like move.
あそこの奥にたった一本生えているのよ。皿の木に咲く普通の花はこうしてたったの一日で命を尽くして散るじゃない。ところが床先の椿はもう何年も何十年も、ひょっとしたら何百年も花を咲かせ続けてるって話よ。眉唾ね。そんなうろんな目を向けられても和尚の受け売り話してるだけだし。
Good omens like this get exaggerated at temples and shrines as time passes.
さすがに100年とかは言い過ぎだけど、ここ何日かは咲きっぱなしみたいよ。私が見た限り。1日ごとの見る気がずれてるとか、そういう初歩的なミスがあったりは。それはないない、ありえない。床先の椿が咲かせる花はね。
She lowered her voice.
花の色が赤いのよ。
Red. As red as blood. The red flowers. And yes, I've noticed her eye right then and there looking at me.
夏椿って普通は白よね。
だいたいそうね。
それじゃあその木は単に普通の椿なんじゃ。
椿の時期とはずれてるけど。
じゃあ狂い咲きのただの椿。
さて、それはどうかしら。
If it was blooming before spring, it might be due to the heat or the hot springs. What was it? What was true was that Migiwa managed to dodge questions about her identity.
お嬢さん、無体というならお嬢さんもではないかね。
Staring at Momoko, in a grave tone, he said,
病なきに己がために後半を求むることを得ず。
はい。
病気でもないのに自分だけ特別なおかずを要求しちゃいかん。簡単に言うならばそういう意味の教えですな。
不祝半法ですね。
As befitting her job, she used a classical saying. Classical is good, but...
それってお経か何かですか？お釈迦様が言ったんですか？
いやいや、これは曹洞宗の開祖道元禅師の書の言葉じゃ。そもそも禅家にとっての食事とはな。
In Zen, life is about on-the-spot training. So starting with one mouthful of rice should be eaten in 3 portions. From how to clean utensils, wash hands, and the 7 religious precepts, it's almost like a punishment.
ご飯食べるのが嫌になりそうです。
食べること自体が修行じゃからの。
As if she didn't know what to do with the chopsticks in her hands, Yasumi glanced at the monk. The monk noticed and put a big bite of rice in his mouth.
安心召され。うちは曹洞宗ではありませんからな。
Starting with Yasumi, everyone let out a relieved sigh.
ああ、ザワッチのご飯は美味しいな。うわー、お腹空いてると何食べても美味しいですよね。
I heavily disagree with that notion, Momoko.
今日はずっと電車と車だったじゃないの。
掃除しました。
As if to calm her hostile, hungry stomach, she patted it with a there.
やっぱり贅沢承知でもう一品。お腹にずっしりくる重量級が欲しかったです。カレーとお味噌汁と酢の物だけだとちょっとボリューム不足だったかも。もう一品増やせばよかったかな。
You could just eat one more portion size or something. That's always an option.
十分だと思うけど。
Realistically speaking, nothing could be changed now, but we could plan for the future, though not just for Momoko's satisfaction.
まったく。
Yasumi spoiled Momoko.
増やすとしたら何増やしてた？カレーメインで手軽にボリューム上げるならやっぱりカツを乗せるのが王道だと思います。
Momoko immediately raised her hand and responded while Yasumi pondered.
揚げ物か。夏野菜の天ぷらとか。
肉抜きでもコロッケなどは合いそうですな。
ナスとかトマトも美味しそうかも。にゃー、そこは素直に肉にしようよ、肉に。
やすみ、そっちのたくあん取ってくれる？
あ、はい。
I'm going to ignore Momoko's annoying complaints about meat for now.
それにしてもカレーとたくあんってちょっと変な感じがする組み合わせですよね。
Wouldn't know, never had them.
果たしてそれはどうかの。たくあんはかのたくあん和尚にちなむ名前の禅寺には欠かせん漬物なんじゃが、 このたくあん漬けの黄色はな、カレーの黄色と同じ色なんじゃよ。
ターメリックの黄色なんですよね。
Of course, Buddha would only be the founder of curry, though.
これぞ御仏のお引き合わせに違いあるまい。
I would say you learn something new every day, but I've already learned this today, so...
ところで和尚、
何ですかな？
右輪から床先の椿って木の話を聞いたんですけど。
And speaking of things we've learned, a full moon wanes. High tide becomes low. In this world where the prosperous must decay, and dynasties will rise and fall, could there exist a tree that never withered, which was neither a fake or artificial? Even an artificial one would eventually wither. I wondered if it was just a story that Migiwa made up. But when I heard the flowers were red...
当時の山の皿の森には床先の椿という気づいまれなる木が生えておる。万緑相中紅一点、白い皿の花に混じって一本だけ赤い椿を咲かせる木があるのですな。
The monk was saying there was one black spot. A red tsubaki did seem to exist.
わしが見る限り、その椿は春のものの狂い咲きなどではなく、春夏秋冬いかなる時も真実枯れずに咲き続けておる。
The tsubaki that doesn't wither seem to exist.
だから床先の椿。普通椿は春に咲きますよね。
さよう。春に花咲く木ですから、木偏に春で椿と書くが、これはいわゆる国字での、漢字の本場中国では海のザクロと書いたりしよった。
ザクロ？
知りませんかな？仮堤も岸門神様が持っておられるのじゃが。
果物の？
人肉の味がするって言うわよね。
How morbid. Though we were avoiding meat in today's meal, what a thing to say during dinner. She ignored my sharp glance, and without hesitating, used her finger to write a character in the air.
漢字の石と木偏にとどめる。木偏の方の一文字だけでもザクロって読むんだけど。
へえ、ザクロ。
That's right. Pomegranate flowers are also red.
それにしても不思議な話ですね。
まあ椿は昔から春を告げる霊妙不可思議な木だとか、悪鬼を払う正常な木とされてきたからね。
春を告げるはわかりますけど、魔除けの力もあるんですか？
故事にあやかった験担ぎかもしれないけどね。記録に残っている古い話では、青や白や他三勢力の土雲を退治するために慶光天皇が椿の木で武器を作らせたのね。
慶光天皇って誰ですか？
第12代天皇。九州一帯をめぐって平定した武闘派なんだけど、本人よりは息子の大和武の方が有名かしら。
ああ、大和武なら知ってます。女装して熊祖のボスを騙し討ちしたりした人ですね。
It was a common motif in myths and legends for the hero to disguise his gender. Reminds me of a certain famous scene from Final Fantasy VII. I heard Uesugui. I don't know how to pronounce this name. So Uesugi Kenshin had dressed like a girl. Ushiwaka Maru, when he defeated Benki at Gojo Bridge, was also dressed as a girl.
でも、なんで椿で武器を作ったんでしょうね。
唾液の椿には魔を破る力があるとされているからかもしれないけど。
椿は1カシ、2グミ、3椿などと言われるように硬い材質ですからな。 木刀といえば赤菓子が主流ですが、次元流の素振り用には椿のものもあるのだそうな。
The monk paused a bit to gather attention.
昇進寺にも椿の木で作られた霊剣新たかな木刀が一本ありましてな。
まさか。
先の故事にちなんで名を雲打ちと申す。
そういえば、あなたって何しにここに来てるわけ？お寺の人じゃないわけじゃない？
She had dodged the question in the afternoon, but she shouldn't be able to escape now as we were playing the game. What she was talking about with that boss. It was like us coming here to show Shinji was causing them trouble. And also,
その中にいる可能性？
it was like she had some doubts that we were just a high school team. What's going on? Who was Migiwa, and why did she come here?
温泉療養中の女子高生？
She gave the same innocent answer. What was she thinking beneath that friendly face? I had to wonder since she entered into our midst of her own accord. She was like a fox hiding its tail and didn't intend on answering. As I thought, she's a type that's hard for me to deal with.
ここのお湯、内身とか切り傷とかによく効くのよ。へえ。
To prove it wasn't a lie, she pulled up the side of her shirt, not like I wanted to see. Even if there were a bruise or gash, to come all the way here by herself was strange. A large household could use their connections and be a burden to come all the way to the temple, but with Migiwa's nimble body, she didn't need any help and could have picked a more convenient location like a hotel or Minshuku. And it seems she had to pick Shoshinji. At least, there was something of benefit to staying here. But I didn't think a rundown like Momoko said, or has character like Aoi Shiro said, temple had much. There was only the picturesque ocean and the Sao. No.
あそこの奥にたった一本生えているのよ。
Then was her target the Tokusaki no Tsubaki that Migiwa herself mentioned, and the existence of which was confirmed by the monk? If it really didn't wither, excuse me, I don't know where I got matter from, it'd be very precious, but if she just came here to see it, it's not like it would be a bother if we were here. Basically, when it's a problem for other people to be around, then there's some ulterior motive. What was Migiwa going to do to the Tokusaki no Tsubaki? Harvest it? Cut it down? Something else? But some questions still remained. There was still their apprehension that it might be among us. There were special watchmen who kept watch over special monuments, but even if such a person existed, he wouldn't be mixed in among us, mere high school students. Though maybe she was apprehensive that she was seen while giving a report. No. Then, was it not limited to Tokusaki no Tsubaki? If they were transporting contraband, an out-of-the-way place like Shoshinji might be ideal. The temple was large, and with only one monk, he couldn't keep an eye on everything. But what if?
Shoko-san? Eh?
Seems like it was my turn. Jeez, what was I doing? My current line of thought was just a biased conjecture, and could only be wildly mistaken. With the current evidence, I wouldn't be able to reach the correct conclusion, and would only confuse myself. I was just wasting energy thinking about this, so it was better to stop. I'll wait for more information for trying to determine Migiwa's real identity. But continuing to lose to Migiwa like this was somehow vexing. So I lost the last 2 rounds, which was as usual for me, but somehow I just didn't want to lose to Migiwa. She was good at bluffing, of course, and her playing skill might also be good, so it doesn't seem I can rely on luck to win. Besides, I definitely was lacking in luck. Poor Shoko. According to Grandpa, I used to up my life's worth of luck when I was young.
なかなか小尺な真似を。
I'd have to use what I could to win. I suddenly got all fired up. It was childish of me to want to win to get Migiwa fired up, but she was also using some dirty tactics to win.
ちょっと、それはないんじゃないの？勝負の世界は厳しいのだよ。厳しいだけなら大いに結構。だけどね、人から後ろ指さされるような勝ち方で。私の場合、勝つこと最優先で、それを人に誇ろうなんて思ってないから。でもまあ、一理はあるか。一理どころじゃないでしょ。長は硬いわ。お堅いわね。硬いって。これでも私は融通聞く方だって言われてるんだから。誰に？おじいちゃんに。誰と比べて？夏姉さんと比べて。夏姉さんって。なっちゃんか。
I got a bad feeling. It was a mistake to have to let Migiwa hear my inadvertent whisper at that time. Not-chan. Natsuni-san. Akiko-san's niece. My mom's cousin. She was like an older sister to me. The person I admired. A courageous, artless person who wouldn't stray from a decision once made. She was awkward and stubborn, but also very kind. So like her character, her strong swordsmanship stretched straight, fast, and long, and was nicknamed the Rook. That was burned into my mind. She was my goal. I wanted skills like hers, so... It really was a mistake to have to let Migiwa learn her name and poke fun at such an important person to me.
ところで、そのなっちゃんのお仕事は？警察官。忠実な番犬、お似合いじゃない。
I thought so too, but to have Migiwa say it like that made me angry. No matter what tactics I had to use, I didn't want to lose.
さて。
Before the pile of cards was distributed again, Migiwa stood up and stretched. She stretched her long, bare arms towards the ceiling.
私はそろそろ一抜けするわ。ミギーさん勝ち逃げですか？
Well, if you were playing in a casino, that'd be the smart thing to do. Just take your winnings instead of risk betting them all away.
ちょっと野暮よ。親戚とかの手前、どうしても外せないわけよ。悪いけど、ここで抜けさせてもらうわ。用事なら仕方ないわね。
The question was, what was she going to do?
それ、夕方の電話？
I was being stubborn, but it'd be hard to get along with someone who feigned innocence. And that was just on the surface. But for me, who was unfriendly, even if she were honest, I might have a hard time. She didn't reply, and I focused on her as she appeared to think of how to answer.
関係なくはないことかな。
She closed her eyes and gave a vague answer. What was she doing this late at night? Like I thought, was it something secret that she couldn't tell anyone?
あ？ どうしたの？珍しい声出して。
電話で思い出しました。私も家に電話しないと。すっかり忘れていました。
She completely forget. Some of the grammar in this translation just really makes some of these scenes funny.
姫さん箱入り？それは何分姫ですから、お父さんが目に入れても痛くないぐらい可愛がってまして。実際今回の合宿で一番参加が危ぶまれてたのは綾代なのよ。部活の合宿なのに？部活の合宿なのに。姫先輩の家ってそこそこ遠いですから、うちの生徒なら入寮したりしますしね。綾代先輩より近い人結構いるよね。
私も寮生活にはちょっと憧れてたんですけど。ではちょっと電話してきますね。
放っておけばいいんじゃない？緊急なら向こうの方からかけてくるでしょ。
私からかけると約束しましたから。約束通り合宿参加を認めてもらったんですから、私が約束を破るわけにはいきません。
わかったわかった。思う存分かけるといいわ。部屋の中は電波状況いまいちだけど、外に出ると良くなるから。
はい。翔子さん、ちょっと外に出てきてもよろしいでしょうか。
夜間外出禁止とか特に決められてなかったけど。
Aoi Shiro and Migiwa left the room. I felt like the suffocating heat left with them out the gap in the doors. Like how expanding air shrinks and is drawn out, I also let out a sigh. I felt a bit sleepy and tired, like the feeling you get after taking a swim.
そろそろ寝た方がいいみたいですね。そうね。そろそろお開きにしましょう。
Closing my eyes and straining my ears, I heard many unexpected sounds. A similar sound in the city would be an old clock that precisely ticks, but produces an interesting rhythm. The undulating rhythm was the constant roar of the waves. You could call it the string instrument of Unosaka. Like the saying, the crescent moon is like a bow. The moon which controls the waves is like the bow of an instrument. Or maybe it was the reverse. If the moon was the bow that moved the bowstrings, then the moon that moved the water's surface could be said to pluck the bowstrings. The melodious trill that flourishes might be the wind brushing against the leaves of the sal trees. How long has it been since the lights were turned off? I was still a bit sleepy, but my heart was pounding. If I closed my eyes, the sounds of Unosaka filled my heart and wouldn't let me sleep. There was something I was curious about. It had been a while since Aoi Shiro came back from her long phone call. But after that, I didn't think I heard a creak of the door, which was louder than expected. Migiwa probably hasn't come back. What was she doing staying out in the middle of the night? Fishing. If something's happening, it might also affect our training camp. If Migiwa's goal was the Tokosaki no Tsubaki.
当時の山の皿の森には床先の椿という気づいまれなる木が生えておる。
Would she be in the mountains? Was she in the mountains? If she was secretly doing something, rather than at the beach with the shining ocean, isn't it better to be in the Sal forest, where the leaves block the moon? If you really were concerned, about her having some nefarious goal with the Tokosaki no Tsubaki, I would think that the smart decision would be to let the head monk know about your suspicions and let him deal with it. But That's not what you're gonna do. Because you're just stubborn. I went to the mountains to search for Migiwa. And this was before I knew she was for certain that she was going to go after Migiwa at that point. Just in case, I passed by Migiwa's room, but she wasn't there, which was as expected. Using the moonlight as a guide, I went towards the mountains. I had passed from the courtyard to an area that opened up, and was starting to regret this a bit. Since it was supported by patrons, it's as expected, but there was a permanent graveyard near the temple. To get to the forest of the Tokasaki no Tsubaki, you had to walk past a road lined with gravestones.
まったく。なんでこんなことしてるんだろう。
I'm not on a test of courage, so why am I walking past this place alone? This would be the type of place for something to come out. Like demonic gusts of wind. The wind was filled with water from the ocean and blew against both my arms as I rubbed them. I wasn't weaker than normal at these types of things, but I wasn't especially good at them either. Perfectly average. Maybe I should have brought at least one bamboo shinai or wooden sword. You really should have. No. If the opponent were a normal human, it would work and I had experience. But if the opponent were a ghost... I do find it interesting that the silhouette of our metaphorical ghost here is obviously a silhouette of Nami, even though we haven't actually seen her yet at this point. I think I might feel a bit braver if I brought the miraculous wooden sword Kumoichi. If I had a special item like that, then even if it were a ghost without a body, I might feel an impact if I hit it. It doesn't have a body?
気合と根性があればどうにかできるものなのかしら。
It's true that ghosts don't have bodies. Whether it had a gaseous body, or something else anyways, it couldn't be touched. But looking at the other way, a ghost is a human that's lost its body.
基本的に幽霊が持ってるもので、私が持ってないものって何一つとしてないのよね。
When you die, the part that becomes a ghost, in other words, the soul, konpaku, was at the moment held in place by the body. In sword arts, there were secret arts able to cut water. So could there also be ones that could cut a ghost?
まあ、私の腕じゃ無理だろうけど。
While thinking about those idle thoughts, I had passed by the graveyard and entered the forest. Above me was a green canopy, so the inside was dark, but some amount of light filtered through, but
明るい。
I thought the forest was bright. In a mountain without light, it was deeper than expected, but I didn't feel scared. Maybe the air here was special.
月の明るさのせいかしら。
Was it because the air was clear, and that the moonlight was not clouded and even reached the ground? No.
空の花びらのせいだ。
The fallen sow petals sucked in the moonlight that filtered through the branches and faintly shined. The sow forest where Shoshinji's name comes from. I went to the sow forest. I heard that deep within the sow forest, a Tsubaki that never withered existed. The pure white petals of the summer Tsubaki had fallen down. In the afternoon they were clear and had shined brightly. Past spring, which the Tsubaki announced, to summer, to colorful fall, to barren winter, and all seasons, all year round. Even before I was born, it had remained the same, surrounded by sow. He was the Tokosaki no Tsubaki with red flowers. And it was said to have a power that surpassed a human's life and understanding. It said objects surpassing 100 years had 99 gods in them. I also heard animals and plants that old sustained strange powers. If memory serves, didn't Dr. Seuss live past 100? Then he had to have had 100 gods in him by that point. Yeah, I know, really strange thing to think about, but I mean, hey, my mind just goes to strange places sometimes. In ghost stories, there were two-tailed cats disguised as humans, and folk tales of trees sometimes taking human shape. That's why. Hello, Kohaku. Again. Hello again. That's why I thought the object that caught my eye was a Tsubaki flower, and I let out a sigh as I said. I thought it might be an illusion. Deep in the south forest where the moonlight shone in an opening was definitely something shaped like a human. Though it was shaped like a human, that didn't mean it was. I didn't think it was one of the team members who had dressed up either. Shorter than me, around a junior high kid's height, shorter than even our shortest member, and of course Migiwa, who I was looking for. Even if Migiwa had dressed up in red, I don't think this would be her. She was wearing Kariginu, informal noble's clothes. The clothes it wore looked special even to me, who was used to seeing dogi, robes, and other Eastern-style clothing. But the most unique thing was not the clothes, nor the vermilion scabbard hanging at its side, but the person itself. From the red collar stretched a neck that was as white as the summer Tsubaki on the ground. The most beautiful curve of its cheek was like a Japanese Hina doll, created by a master artisan and painted with chalk. The long hair stood up a bit and was tied into a ponytail. That hair was also white, but glossier than the skin. That person's body looked like it was made from the same pure white as the Sao.
さて、島で何が起こったか。
The closed eye slowly opened. We've been acknowledged. A blood-red flower bloomed. Among the sao flowers in full bloom, a crimson Tsubaki bloomed. The embroidered clothing, also splendid, but it was something woven, and what maybe should be praised is the skill to make it. But the white skin, white hair, limbs devoid of color, the right eye that opened was crimson. I was held in place by that red eye. Compared to the outside where I didn't move an inch, my insides might be in an even more terrible state. My heart, which should be calm, was feverishly pumping blood throughout my body.
何者じゃ?
That challenging voice was gallant, like a young warrior's. As it being controlled, I shakily walked out and stood in front of it.
おい、娘。お主だ、娘。そこの奇妙なかぶろ紙。それとも、言葉が通じるのか？え？言葉はそれほど変わっておらんか。ちと尋ねる。将軍職はまだ徳川か？
いえ、とっくに終わっていますけど。
関ヶ原から何年経った？
え？
猿太閤が死んだ後、狸が天下を取ったじゃろ。知らぬか？
知ってます。
400年は軽く経っていますけど。
400。関ヶ原から400年。
A 400-year-long nap. You must have some serious bed sores by now.
つまり慶長と言ってもわかるまい。とうに元那寛永商法とその後も変わっておるはずだ。とはいえ400年にしては変わりすぎておるな。
That was true. The decisive battle of Sekigahara was in 1600. It was 408 years past the Kamakura shogunate, whose motto was, "Let's make a good country." From shaved heads to top knots, tachi to uchigatana, nobles' clothes from kariginu to kamishimo, firearms were introduced. Huh? Adding it up, a lot of things had changed. But still, the degree of change was different. I was not too conscious of it, but in recent times, things have changed too much. When I was born, cell phones weren't so prolific. Now they could send mail, purchase things, watch TV, and do other things besides making a phone call. The Edo period lasted 200 years. The change from its start to end shouldn't be as large as it is between now and 20 years ago.
世話しないものよ。わしは何一つ変わっておらぬのにな。
What was this? This strange feeling in my heart. Like an alarm, the pulse quickened. As if something that had slept quietly in me until now, blood that was not mine, suddenly woke with a vigor and started moving. Why?
今までも目覚めるたびに世は移り変わっておったものだが、この度の目覚めでの変わりようにはちと驚いたぞ。
I would really hate to have an existence like Kohaku's, because my only purpose in life would essentially just to be to wake up every time there is a disturbance with the thing that I'm supposed to guard, and I could just basically be asleep for centuries at a time, and the world could end up radically changing. Rinse and repeat. You can't form any friendships or bonds with anyone because it's inevitable that you're going to outlive them by a wide margin every time your task is done. It's a very lonely existence.
まるで浦の島子よ。のう。目覚めるその都度変わるのだから、次第にうつつとは思えぬようになる。もはやうつつは、わしの見る昔日の夢よりも混沌としておる。よもや、うつつこそが夢ではないのか？
私は今こそ夢を見ている気がします。
Wonderful pickup line.
お主は、いや、気のせいか、久しい気配と思ったのだが。ああ、そうか。なるほどな。随分とまた未熟者のようだが、お主が捨てんの鬼切りか。剣を追いかけ来たのだな。剣は島にもう渡ったか。踏み石の見張りは一体どうした？
捨てん？
It wasn't a title I recognized.
もしかして人違いなんじゃ。
It's pretty much at this point where I began to speculate if the person or that she might be referring to is actually Migiwa, because what she just said pretty much aligns with Migiwa's objectives here, relating to the sword and making sure it doesn't pass over to the next island and everything. So, if it's not Migiwa, then frankly, I don't know who else she could be referring to.
お主、捨てんのものではないのか？そうか。なら、今宵のことは忘れるがいい。
え？
ああ、それから小娘よ。
From girl to little girl.
月の明るき晩とはいえ、日うせて久しき黒源だ。昼間はどこぞに隠れておる輩も、これ幸いと好き勝手をしよる。
The sword at her waist was drawn with a horizontal slice. More than a practice swing, it looked like some sort of dance.
人にあらざる鬼どもが跋扈するこの時間。食らわれるのが嫌ならば、弱る気が控えるがよいぞ。
Whether it was having fun saying some joke or something, from its mouth, a long, white, sharp, predatory fang peeked out, looking like it could bite through anything.
それは
Was it a reflection of the moonlight? A shining golden light flashed in my brain, and for a moment my mind stopped. Was it 1 second or 2? It wasn't more than 3, I think. It's as if on a clear spring day. I lost to Morpheus for 1 instant, and my mind was taken far away. That was what it felt like. And when I realized... there was no one there.
嘘。まさか本当に椿のせい。
Whether it was a Tsubaki spirit or a ghost or something else, it was just a daydream. No, it was night right now. Though I wasn't scared, why was my body shaking?
あれ
Why were tears dripping down my face? It wasn't because of fear.
会いたかった。
No, that thought wasn't from me. I didn't know that person. But that back I vanished into the night. I also find it interesting that she seems to have this kind of reaction, like a feeling of longing towards Kohaku. Even though, last I checked, the spirit inhabiting Nami's body is the one that is acquainted with Kohaku from centuries ago. It does make me kind of wonder what the deal with this is. Anyway, I remember making this decision here in the original video, so let's keep looking. Jeez, what just happened? My mind was a jumble, and I couldn't get it organized. But I clearly remembered my goal.
右輪を探しに来ただけで、なんでこんなことに。
I didn't complete that task yet. Now, I wiped away what felt like tears of parting and looked around the area. She shouldn't be in this area. If the Tokusaki no Tsubaki was her aim, then I thought she'd be in the mountains, but... If she had some other aim and was going to meet with someone, it might be better for Migiwa to come down. The beach had good visibility, and you could see at night. If you walked a little deeper, your shadows should be hidden by the shade of the rocks.
海の方か。
You're getting warmer. Since something like this happened, even if I went back, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep right away. And also, that person, who referred to now as the Tokugawa era, who'd went far past a person's lifespan. The Tsubaki spirit had confused me with someone.
剣は島にもう渡ったか。踏み石の見張りは一体どうした？
I wonder if the island referred to Onigashima in the story. Now Urashima.
そういえば、踏み石って。
There were also stepping stones in the garden, but... In a landscape garden filled with white sand, would there be water? Or did the word stepping stones mean a place where there were stepping stones? If that's the case, then there's only one place to go. I went past the courtyard, down the long ocean stairs, into the salty-smelling ocean. With a light crunching sound, I walked across the beach at night. The crunching sound vanished as I walked towards the rocks. Gradually, the footing got worse, and my pace became uneven. From small ones to big ones, various stones stood. The thin blue moonlight produced various complicated shadows. There were even rocks not covered by the waves that shined in the moonlight. Perhaps it was because of the dew that was frozen on the rocks. No, maybe it was because of the rise and fall of the ocean. From several tens of minutes to maybe hours ahead, the ocean stretched out. I tried to avoid stepping in the shadows and made sure of my footing as I looked for a safe way to continue forward. And then in front of me, at the closest distance to the island, at the tip of a cape, the stepping stones were there. Compared to an average person's stride, it wasn't as easy as walking across a garden, and it'd be hard to go across, but compared to the width of the ocean, it was justified to call them stepping stones. As for a large oni, I thought with its stride, it could use them as stepping stones. Before low tide, the rocks would be below the water, but they were poking out and forming a line right now.
1年のうち数えるほどだけ、ある時期のある時刻に島との間に秘密の道が現れるのです。
That secret road stretched out before me. In the middle of the Cerulean Sea, a line like a road appeared.
ここは
I seem to remember this scene. You know, I don't think I've ever actually noticed this before, but this part of the island right here, on the left side, I'm looking at the water and I'm seeing some kind of reflection. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's probably light from the village on the island. Those are lights from the village. Maybe. I went past it and... what exactly was that? I didn't know. I shouldn't know. This was like when I was in the mountains. A memory that wasn't mine. Something like deja vu. No, this belonged to me. It wasn't that I didn't know. It was that I couldn't remember. Though I couldn't remember, I felt that it was buried somewhere, deep within me. If it happened a long time ago, I should have been a kid, and I shouldn't have gone across by myself. Back then, I was holding onto someone's hand.
誰か
Was it someone? Not was it someone. Who was it? I couldn't remember something I should know. And then...
足音
I heard a voice behind me, which dragged me out of remembering the past.
誰
That challenging voice that asked who it was sounded familiar.
私、幼い証拠。なんだ、大阪。驚いて損した。
I know, Shoko doesn't exactly make for a very appealing catch, does she? I kid.
損したってね。
It was who I guessed it was. Migiwa nimbly leapt across the rocks. and stood beside me.
こんな時間にこんな場所まで一体何の用事で来たわけ？
Trying to communicate with the salmon, but you ended up catching me.
あなたの方こそどうなのよ。
時間は私の都合じゃないし、場所も相手に合わせてるだけ。何の用かに関しては。
もういいわ。私の方はあなたの姿が見当たらないからこうして探しに来たわけだけど、まったく最初に行った森の中には右輪の姿はなかったし。
In exchange, what I meant was...
こうして海に来てみればのんびり夜釣り？出る時に一言言ってくれれば余計な心配しなかったのに。
いや、私部員じゃないし。
そういう自覚があるんならうちのご飯をガツガツ食べない。働かざる者食うべからずっていう以上、練習はともかく掃除とかは一緒にやってもらうわよ。
へいへい、わかりました。とは言うけれど、時間の都合とかあるし、場合によっては現物支給で勘弁してくれない？
現物って何をよ。
見てわからんものは聞いてもわからん。
She faced the ocean, sat down, and held out a rod. With a little shout, she cast the rod forward. The string stretched taut, and it was as if it were waiting for an opportunity. With a satisfying sound, the tip of the rod with the fishing line and hook flew forward from the banks of the shore to the ocean. If this were a calm lake in the middle of the day, you could tell when it reached the water from the ripples, but unfortunately it was night and this was an ocean. The light of the moon flashed, and the tip of the rod and the water surface connected. From what I could tell, that it reached the water.
釣りだってのはさすがに見ればわかるけどね。
そう？
Sitting with a fishing rod in hand and a fishing line dangling, I'd be surprised if it were something else.
現物支給って魚？大物でも釣れるの？
今はまだ。
If it were for the whole team, she'd either have to catch a lot or catch a big one. Could you try to catch a big one for Momoko?
釣れるようなら、そのうち私にも竿を貸してよ。
貸すにやぶさかではないけれど、おさ。
何？
海幸彦、山幸彦って知ってる？
知ってるような、知らないような。昔話っぽい響きから言って、葵先生の得意分野ね、多分。
山で狩りする山幸彦が、たまには俺も釣りしたいって。
ああ、思い出した。
Yamasachihiko lost his older brother's fishing hook from the rod that he'd borrowed to a fish that got away. The angry older brother wouldn't forgive him, even though he broke down his precious sword to give him many hooks in return and won his own back. Finally, Yamasachiko went to the palace of the dragon god, married the daughter, and retrieved the hook from a red sea bream's throat, and went back. And it was given a gift of 2 pearls that could control the tides. It was sort of like the story of Urashima Taru, but still.
釣り針1本なくしても、戸一真っ青の利子で取り立て入るわよ。
Migiwa's name has the character for water in it. Mine had the character for mountain, so that's how we're being cast in that story.
あ、そう。じゃあ別にいいわ。
I'm sure Migiwa knew that the mean Umisachihiko, who had returned with the treasures, until right before his... Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't misread anything. I'm sure Migiwa knew that the mean Umisachihiko chastised his brother Yamasachihiko, who had returned with the treasures until right before his death by drowning.
あらら、随分とあっさり。
What a dick.
魚釣りに来たわけじゃないもの。明日の朝に響くから、
夜更かししてる場合じゃないし。部長が寝坊したら部員に示しがつかないって。そういうこと。じゃあ私は帰って寝るけど、あなたもほどほどにしときなさいよ。
Or you could set a bad example by staying up late and then showing how miserable you are, sleep deprived to everyone else, so that they realize, huh, if I don't want to be miserable like Captain Shoko, I should sleep in. Yeah, I know that's a very unrealistic thing to expect from people to actually learn from to actually just be able to just learn from random mistakes that people make like that, but well, I've always tried to do that, just observe how certain actions work out for other people, and then depending on what happens, decide whether or not repeating their actions for myself has any value. Simple observation.
ちょっと待って。サラの森には何がいたわけ？言ったじゃない。右輪はいなかったって。
No, I met a tree spirit with fabulous clothes.
椿のせいみたいなの見た。
は？椿のせい？
Well, something like that. Maybe that wasn't the best word for it. For a moment, Migiwa looked dumbfounded.
へえ、超神寺の裏のサラの森で？
笑ってくれても構わないわよ。
I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it with my own eyes.
笑いはしないけどさ。
Her eyes looked like they wanted to say something, which belied her words.
部員の誰かが散歩してたとか、そういう見間違いの可能性は？
一応面と向かって会話までしたのよ。
部長の長が間違えるはずがないか。
うちぐらいの世帯なら当然ね。多少遠目だったとしても体格とかで多少はわかるし。
With its back straight, I didn't think it was someone trying to trick me, since it was 5 centimeters shorter our team's shortest, Momoko.
椿のせいね。どんなのだった？
椿の花みたいな赤い衣を着ていたわ。狩衣とか水管とか、そんな時代がかった感じの服。
へえへえ、確かに変な人ね。今時そんな格好でこんな時間にそんな場所で。だけどそれだけで椿のせいとか言っちゃうんだ。長って意外とメルヘンさんなんだ。
You got a problem with fairy tales? I suddenly turned red, and without thinking, I put my palm to my face. Since it was this dark at night, she wouldn't have been able to see the change in color, but I just dug my own grave. As expected, she laughed. Whether it was because I was embarrassed or because I was angry, my face continued to burn.
メルヘンさんって何よ、一体。
だってさ、着物の変なの見たぐらいで今時椿のせいとか思わないわよ。
I don't know. I think the pointy ears gave me a bigger clue personally, but Shoko obviously wasn't paying attention to that.
普通だったらコスプレとか、たとえ本物が出たとしても幽霊だとか化け物だとか。それが幽にこと書いて椿のせい。妖精さんだものね。
和尚からあんな話を聞いてたから。
床先の椿？
それを思い出したのよ。
へえ。
肌も髪も色が抜けたみたいに真っ白なのに、右の目だけが椿みたいに赤く光ってて。
右の目だけが？
Yep, just like your right eye that likes to keep flashing at me. The rude little thing.
右目が赤なら左目は？
左目はずっとつぶってたけど。
You know, now that I think about it. Kohaku has has a red right eye that's always open, while the left one is always closed. Meanwhile, you have an eye that glows blue, your right eye, yet both are always open. And yet, clearly one of your eyes has a special power. And Kohaku knows, and Kohaku seems to know some stuff here that indicates that she's at least aware of a person like you who has certain tasks that you are up to right this minute. So, what's your connection to Kohaku exactly, is what I'm wondering. Because there's clearly a connection just based on that alone. But I also wonder if there's also some kind of connection between your eyes, between yours and Kohaku's. Like, does her left eye that's always closed, like, if there's nothing wrong with it, does it too have a special power or something? Or is it just she doesn't have an eye under there or something because of an injury? I feel like I should probably know. Like, I might be forgetting something regarding to Kohaku and her left eye, but I'm drawing a blank right now. Or maybe I'm just imagining things. Either way, I feel like the eyes might also be an important trait that these two share that could give further contextualization between the relationship these two seem to have, whatever the exact nature of that relationship is. Anyway, I'm done rambling. The left one was continually closed.
Aoi Shiro. 右は何か心当たりでもあるわけ？
いや別に。
だけど私、確かに聞いたのよ。ステンの鬼切りなんて言葉には心当たりないし。
Maybe she knew something.
ステンの鬼切り。主典の鬼切り。
This was Aoi Sensei's field of expertise. Or perhaps it was more her hobby, and I probably heard about this from Sensei. Migiwa also seemed to be that type of person.
主典童子を退治したのって頼光だっけ？
来光の玉う様、目をぐじれとたまえば、綱金と吉とよて、刀を抜きて、左右の目をぐじりたりければ、鬼王の首死にけり。
何それ？
首をはねても死ななかったステン童子はね、目の玉をくり抜くことでようやく死んだわけよ。案外長が見たのって鬼の怨霊だったりして、ステンの鬼切りかどうか、その問いにうなずいてたら呪い殺されちゃってたかもね。わしを殺したのはお前かーって。口裂け女とかトイレの階段とかってそういうパターン多いじゃない？
鬼みたいには見えなかったんだけど。
長って見た目に騙されやすいタイプ？ステン童子は恐ろしい鬼の姿じゃなくて美しい童形で来光たちの前に現れたのよ。
美しい童形で。
It occasionally happened in stories that Oni disguised themselves as harmless beings, such as pretty women and children.
そういえばステン童子の正体は日本に漂着したドイツ人のシュタイン・ロッチという説が。
I was planning on returning quickly, but because she called out to me, I ended up staying a while. Probably not gonna be getting too much sleep after this. The lights are on. After climbing up the long stairs, the lights at the temple weren't turned off, but shining in my eyes. It didn't seem it was because someone needed to run an errand, and wanted to avoid stepping on the neighboring futon. Could it be I was gone longer than I thought, and was the reason for this?
困った。というか、しまった？
Well, it's pretty much at this point that Yasumi was wandering around on the beach, and given what we know happens at that point from other routes, I'm pretty sure you guys can deduce what might be going on right now. We didn't stipulate that people couldn't go out at night, but perhaps this was not the example that the captain should set on the first day here. Returning to the temple, I headed to the room which had its lights on. If my memory served me correctly, that should have been an empty room not assigned to anyone. But the lights were on, and the black shadows showing through the screen doors indicated someone was there. The largest shadow with its distinctive head was unmistakably the monk. If only the monk was there, it might have been a private matter, but there were other shadows too.
困りましたね、鈴木さん。
And they seemed to be having a discussion. I should go confirm what had happened.
失礼します。
I called out as I slid the door open. The person closest to the door was the monk, and he waved me over.
おお、部長さん。
His deeply furrowed brow lightened up a bit. He moved over to make room for me. I wondered if the monk was preparing to sleep because he wasn't in his refined black robes, but wearing a simple white one.
何かありましたか？
There was a futon laid out in the room. Was someone sick? Could it be Yasumi?
幼いさん、今までどこに？
Hunting for tree spirits and fish.
右はキアンさんの姿が見当たらなかったので外に探しに出てました。
そう。
翔子先輩、そんなことしてたんだ。
You look so displeased with my actions. I am sorry. The criticizing look she gave me for being an undependable captain when something important happened was a little painful. Her puffed out cheeks, though. Well, cheek, I mean, there's just the one. Looking at Yasumi's frail body, this matter seemed to involve her, too.
それでキアンさんは見つかった？
岩場の奥の方で釣り糸垂らしてました。まだしばらくは続けるみたいですね。
大量そうでしたか？
それがわざわざこんな時間にあんな場所まで行ってるんだから、いい穴場でもあるかと思えば。
岩場の奥というと鬼の踏み石かね？
確かそんな名前だったような。
ああ、この時期のあの場所ではまず釣れぬよ。
そうなんですか？
そもそも鬼の踏み石のあたりは九郎様の禁足地。魚も恐れて近寄らんのだよ。
Momoko looks so displeased to hear all this stuff. Poor thing.
砂浜の方なら大量というか大物が取れたんですけど。
大物？
マネージャーさんが寝つけずに砂浜に散歩に出たそうなんじゃよ。そこでこの子を見つけたそうな。
Everyone turned to gaze at the girl. My gaze also followed theirs. My heart thumped hard. Once. There was one futon laid out there. Hello, Nami. Whoops. Not that. The futon wasn't empty. A girl was sleeping there. She was tucked in up to her shoulders. Her head peeked out from the futon. The breath I swallowed turned to something unfamiliar in my chest.
それにしてもこの娘さんは本当に運がいい。傷一つなく打ち上げられるなど、どんな奇跡が働いたことやら。
She was as white as the sheets and covers. Her sleeping face was too pale. Her long, slightly wavy hair didn't match her young face. It was a strange, colorless shade. With her figure, there was plenty of reasons that she would draw the gazes of people around her, but even still, more than that. I finally let out a breath in my chest, and I lightly shivered. Yasumi might have had good hearing because she even noticed my shiver and asked,
翔子先輩、 誰にですか？
I think you know, Yasumi.
誰って。今似てるって。いや。
It's not that her countenance resembled someone I knew. I just said resembled without thinking. Looking closely, the eyes, mouth, and nose were different. But still, the impression I got was...
椿のせい。
I recalled the person I met in the South Forest, with white hair and skin, different from a Japanese person.
は？右輪は鬼って言ってたけど。鬼？翔子さん、鬼を見たんですか？見たっていうか、話したっていうか。空の森があるじゃない？右輪を探しに外に出て、そこでちょっと。
It was as white as a safflower. Like a drop of blood in a snowfield, it had an eye as red as a ruby.
赤い衣が、和尚が聞かせてくれた床先の椿を思い出させてね。
Yes, this was the second time I talked about this. This time it went more smoothly, but since there were more people and questions, it took just as long to tell it. At the end, I told about how it disappeared in a gust of wind, and then shut my mouth.
なるほど。風とともに去りぬ。いかにも赤っぽい御人というわけじゃな。
ママカちゃん、ヒントは名前です。名前。お？和尚さん、うまいこと言ったつもりですか？
The monk gave a self-satisfied smile.
はあ。
I told him about what I experienced, but it seems it was taken as a joke. None of you believe me. I hate you now. I've officially decided to disown each and every one of you. It's true that even I myself might think that it was just my imagination, or a dream caused by drowsiness.
あ。お、ザワッチどうしたの？別に。もう、ザワッチはいっつもそういうこと言うんだから。言って問題ないことなら言える時に言っとかないとストレス溜まってそのうちハゲるよ。
どうしてわしの方を見なさるのかの？
Well, you got a shiny scalp, don't you?
それで休みどうしたの？いえ、先輩のお話で気になることがあって、その先輩が会った人。
Yasumi used her left pointer finger to pull down her left eyelid, like you did when you snorted in derision at someone.
ずっと左目を閉じていたんですよね。
You said it's left.
右輪はそれが鬼臭いって言ってたけど、先生が話してくれた昔話の鬼も左目に弓矢の矢が刺さりましたよね。浦島の鬼？じゃあ、あの人に似てるこの子は一体。
Okay. So we are pretty much certainly well past the point where the original version of this video ended up getting lost. So everything new that I see from this point, I definitely know is going to be new. But I think I'm going to go ahead and stop things here, because I mean it's getting kind of late for me, and I kind of also want to take a break. So we will continue trying to pry any information and time from Migiwa in the next episode, and maybe also see if we can run to Kohaku again as well, although Migiwa takes priority. So I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Aoi Shiro. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.